G'day there guys, if they can get the Ever Given unstuck from the Suez Canal, then hopefully we can get my hopes and dreams back on track, right? Yeah, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you're ready to give it a good crack, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user David McMahon 2. Titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out on dinner when friends ask me to leave? So my group of friends made a reservation for dinner at a popular restaurant for 6 people. But when we got to the restaurant, one of my friends, let's call her person A, brought along her boyfriend without advance notice to any of us, hence making the total number of people 7. We all know her boyfriend well and are pretty chill with him, so we thought to ask the restaurant if 7 is possible. Unfortunately, the restaurant was unable to accommodate 7 people, as our reservation was stated for 6 people. This was also understandable, as the restaurant was a popular one and packed during that night, so fair enough. At this point, person A, who is kinda the leader of our friend group, turns to me and says, "Okay, I think you should leave so that we'll have 6 people." I was flabbergasted and shocked when I heard that. My other friends kept silent and no one really spoke, so there was this awkward silence. I almost wanted to propose that perhaps we could have gone to a different restaurant down the street instead, that could accommodate 7 people, for example. But I felt a surge of emotions and called her a heartless beer, and my friends all looked at me in horror, and person A clearly looked shocked as well. The next day, my friend, let's call her person B, texted me and said that I overreacted and was an a-hole for calling person A a bear in public. I was confused by this as I thought that I wasn't the a-hole in this situation, but maybe I was. I'm not sure. Am I the a-hole? And edit, someone in the comments has raised a valid point. The rest of my friends were couples, aka 3 couples in the group, and I'm the only single person in the group. Person A's boyfriend said he couldn't make it when he made the reservation long ago, but he suddenly showed up at the restaurant last minute. Maybe me being the only single person in the group made me instantly the odd one out. That's still no excuse for them to oust you from a planned dinner though. If he's the one that made the reservation and then knowingly couldn't go, he shouldn't have gone. I know that's an unrealistic expectation, but surely he knows how packed that restaurant gets, and that if he did show up, there's a very real possibility that they don't get to have that +1 with the group. Add on top of that the fact that the group as a whole couldn't lower themselves to a restaurant that could accommodate OP. Screw all those guys, man. That's insanely selfish of the group as a collective, and of the boyfriend to come and oust OP like that. I know it's easier to kick one single person out than to upset a couple and have the whole night ruined, but sometimes you gotta stand on some feet to keep others up, or something along those lines, I don't know. They shouldn't have let the boyfriend do what he did, but they did anyway. My vote is not the a-hole OP. I'm sorry your friend group enables these things to happen. You deserve better. Now in the comments, I'm a human I swear says, not the a-hole. You need new friends. Good friends don't ask you to leave, so an unexpected and unannounced +1 can take your place at the table. I know, right? If these were my ex-friends, they would be just that, ex-friends. Shocking that your most supportive people who aren't your family just turned on you like that. They're not your friends, honey. I can't believe someone would do that, and it really disgusts me. Good friends also defend you, and will probably walk out with you when someone tells you to dip out after such a thing happens. If I were one of the couples, I would have been so shocked that it would have taken a minute or 2 to get my voice, but I hope that I would have stuck up for OP. The boyfriend is the one that had to go, as he was the last one that was invited. He should have volunteered, as he was a last-minute add-on. What horrible people, and I hope there's some karma for them. Not the a-hole. Your language was harsh, but honestly, I think I would have done the same. If anyone were to leave, it should have been the boyfriend who was not invited. Or you could have all gone to a different restaurant. Ejecting you from the party was a straight mean girl move. And they did it so fast too, and didn't even open a discussion. That's really cold, and I'm sorry, OP. They could have at least laughed at her suggestion, but the fact that they were awkward and silent means that they were all heartless and also weak. Friend A is definitely not a friend. And OP replies, "Oh, just to clarify, the restaurant had a month's waiting list, so it was a restaurant that we were all eager to try. No one wanted to miss out on a seat at the table, so that's why they were all quiet and didn't say anything, I suppose. Then they're losers, if that's how little they care about you." And back to the post, OP has some edits and updates and says, "This thread is now locked and I wanted to give some sense of closure and update. Thank you to all of you for your insights and comments. I shared this thread with my friends, and they told me off and scolded me, actually, for sharing this in a public community. However, one of the couples, who I'm closest to in the group, reached out privately to me over text and told me that they felt bad and apologized for not speaking up. But that's it. I've had enough and will walk away. To emulate the example of Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, I would say, okay, you want to ask me to leave? Okay, fine, no problem. That's all I needed. I took it personal from then on." Edit 3, apparently the mods unlocked this thread now. I don't know why. To answer some of the common questions that cropped up, 1. How long was the silence? Maybe the other friends were just stunned and didn't know how to react, so that's why they were silent? Answer, I didn't count, but the silence felt like 10 to 15 seconds, I think. There was time for me to look at the rest in horror, but the rest were all looking down at the ground in silence. I concede that I should have given them more time, but honestly, I think I instinctively felt like this should be quite obvious for someone to come out and say, "Hey, wait a minute," and 10 to 15 seconds was more than ample time. I also concede the possibility that the others may be stunned and didn't know what to do, but their subsequent conduct proved otherwise. See person B's conduct, or how the group reacted when I showed them the thread. Maybe except for the couple who reached out to me. 2. Why is there a leader of the group? Are you guys in high school? Answer, no, we're all in college and met in college. Not childhood friends or anything like that. God forbid that my childhood friends treat me like that, because that would blow my mind, I can't even imagine. As for the leader, what I meant is our group is big, and there's always going to be a natural, more dominant, de facto pseudo-leader that takes the initiative, etc. Whether it be organizing meetups or touching base with everyone and being the glue of the group, so to speak. 3. Did you walk out, or who walked out? Not clear from the post. Answer, apologies for not being clear. Yes, I walked out of the dinner after calling person A a bear. 4. Why did you call her a bear? Under no circumstances should it be right to name call. Answer, I agree upon hindsight that it may be over the top, but it was in the heat of the moment and out of character for me. Friends who know me know that I'm usually the studious and quiet type. Maybe I chalk it down to being human and emotions getting the better of me in the heat of the moment. And 5. Why did you not defend yourself or voice your opinion or question why person A is asking me to leave? And answer, I wanted to do that, actually, to be honest, but fell short of it. Something inside me, maybe it was whatever shred of self-respect or dignity that I had left, instinctively didn't want me to appear needy and be defensive and argue or beg for a seat at the table. I would rather just walk away. So I hope that answers some of you guys' questions down in the comments below. If you have any thoughts on this one, I'd love to know. Posted by user Twisted Raccoon, titled, Am I the a-hole for not making sure that there was space in the fridge for my roommate's food? So I, female 19, have a roommate. At the beginning of the year, I rented a micro fridge, a mini fridge with a microwave attached to it. I asked my roommate if she wanted to split the payment and share the fridge. She said no because she wouldn't use it that much. I was completely fine with that, but still put it in our common area so that she could use it every once in a while if she wanted to. It's not that big of a deal to me. So fast forward to about 2 weeks ago, the night before I went to get some snacks from Target and ended up filling the freezer and the fridge. It's not very big, so it's pretty easy to fill. Granted, some of the things that I put in the fridge don't necessarily have to be refrigerated, like Gatorade or applesauce, but they're better cold, so I put them there. When I got up the day after and walked into our common area, I noticed that my Gatorade had been taken out of the fridge and placed on a shelf instead. When I looked inside the fridge, I saw that she'd put her sushi and a sandwich there instead. I was kind of in a bad mood, so rather than texting her like I probably should have, I just took her stuff out and put my stuff back in. She got back about an hour later, very upset, and said that it was unfair of me to let her food spoil and to take up all of the room in the fridge. I told her that unless she wanted to pay for half of the payment for it, it wasn't her fridge, it was mine. She said that she didn't have the money for the payment. I know she has the money. She gets packages of new clothing about every 2 days, and that I should just be nice and let her share the fridge because some of the things that I had in there didn't really need to be in there. I just reiterated that it was my fridge and that I'd put whatever I liked into it until she wanted to help to pay for it, and I walked back into my room. The morning after, I get up to see that it's happened again. Only this time, she took the cream cheese out as well, which had gone bad overnight. Fed up, I took her stuff out and moved the unit into my room where she cannot access it. Pandemonium ensues. The RAs are called and she tells them I'm acting like a tramp and taking away shared items. I tell the RA that it's my fridge. I am the only one who paid for it, and that I'd chosen to move it into my room because, well, it was mine, and I was tired of how my roommate was acting when I was letting her use it. The RA just had a "you're adults, figure it out" opinion on the situation, and I asked my roommate if she would pay. She said no, so I said the fridge was staying in my room. She refuses to speak to me now, makes snarky remarks whenever I have friends over, and is overall just rude as hell. My friends asked about it, and I told them the story and have gotten mixed responses. Some of them think that I dealt with it the best way possible, others think I'm acting petty. Am I the a-hole, Reddit? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I think I might be the a-hole for moving the micro-fridge into my room and not being willing to negotiate letting her have space in the fridge, and for taking her food out when I first noticed that she'd taken my stuff out and going for an eye for an eye reaction instead of just talking about it in the beginning. So I agree with your actions in that you did the best thing possible that protects you and your food in this situation, but unfortunately, even if you do the right thing for you can still hurt others along the way. What this one boils down to for me is you both showing a huge lack of communication skills between each other and resorting to petty games and sucker punches in the form of fridge warfare. That's obviously not going to end well for either of you, and while what she did was objectively worse, you still misstepped in not contacting her about her food and letting it spoil. Your actions could lead many to say not the a-hole, but for the sake of you two learning to be better people and communicating more effectively, I'm saying everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, Geek Egg says, everyone sucks here, roommate's entitlement is over the top, but you have let her use it before. She took out something you admit didn't need to be there. Letting her food spoil because you were in a bad mood is on you. You're fine keeping it in your room though. Yeah, taking sushi and a sandwich out because the Gatorade was taken out is super petty. I would have just put the fridge in my room after she removed her food. No need for an explanation really, but the excuse could have been OP wanted easier access. It amazes me how you guys can so easily give a pass to someone who doesn't own something. She's not entitled to anything. She didn't want her food to spoil? Don't put it where it doesn't belong. In the army, we didn't deal with that immature crap, and I still don't see how it makes any less sense in the civilian world. Not an everyone sucks here, just the roommate. OP not the a-hole. She had been allowed to use the fridge before though. And that doesn't mean that she has a right to remove OP's stuff. Even if she thinks that's fine, it's not okay. It's not hers. She never asked if she could remove anything, and then retaliated by ruining OP's stuff out of her fridge because she feels that entitled to it. I have certain drinks I can physically only drink out of the fridge cold. OP's roommate would have stopped me having the drinks I would have bought and wanted in the fridge because they were the safest. Saying someone can use your phone every now and then doesn't mean they can start deleting pics so they can have their space for their crap that you would expect them to ask. How is OP's fridge any different? OK Sympathy 6395 says, everyone sucks here. You're both acting like jerks, but you were the one who started the pandemonium. You said initially that it was fine for her to use it every once in a while, so she got home with some perishable items and pretty reasonably moved a non-perishable item to fit her food. You could have kindly asked her to not do that in the future, which would have been petty, but within your rights. But you decided to ruin her food instead. You were fine to keep it in your room, but overall, y'all deserve each other. But it's her fridge, and the roommate had no right to remove stuff from her fridge so she could fit stuff in it. If she wanted to use it, then she should have paid her half for it. But OP explicitly put it in the common area so her roommate could also use it from time to time. It's partially on her for her half-assed communication. If she didn't want roommate to use the fridge, she should have put it in her room to start with. But there's a pretty big difference between, you can use my fridge at all times, taking my stuff out to make space for your stuff whenever you feel like with no notice. OP was kinda petty about it and probably should have talked to the roommate the first time it happened, but the roommate is so much worse in this scenario. Not the a-hole. You have offered to sell her fridge space and she said no. Then she ruined some of your food. Keep it in your room. So I guess I throw it back to you guys now. What do you think of this one? Because I think I do agree with not the a-hole and everyone sucks here, but I still like the everyone sucks here argument. And our next post is by user No Past for Kachin, titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to take my nieces and nephews out to fun places anymore, since my sister won't help with the bill? So my little sister has 6 kids, 10 male, 7, 6 female, 4 male and 2 female, who I love and babysit when I can. I'm child-free and my husband and I have a decent amount of fun money saved up for us to spend on whatever we want. And I'd use mine sometimes to take my nibblings fun places. I still take them all out somewhere at least 2 to 3 times a month. Now, when I was just the oldest, I'd take him for a day to give my sister and brother-in-law a break. I'd take him to museums, fairs, kids' play places, Chuck E. Cheese, amusement parks, etc. With just one kid, it was pretty easy to do. Then the second oldest came along, and I was still able to swing it, but then with the addition of the twins, it became harder to afford. Not to mention watching 4 kids is way harder than watching one. By the time the 4-year-old came around, I couldn't afford to take them all to the same places anymore. It cost too much. So I started taking them to cheaper and free places, like the park, free kids' days at the museum, the mall, swimming at my house, etc. Now with the 2-year-old, I've totally stopped taking them anywhere that costs more than a couple bucks each. But last week, when I was dropping the kids off at my sister's place, the oldest asked if we could go to the fair next month. I didn't think I'd be able to afford that, but didn't want to outright say no, so I told him I wasn't sure, but we'd see. After the kids ran off, my sister asked why I wasn't sure about the fair, and I told her I didn't think I'd be able to afford tickets and food for 7 people. She said it didn't cost that much, so I told her that each ticket was about $10 the last time we'd gone, and that wasn't counting the money spent on food. I said I would be happy to take them all to the fair if she paid for at least the tickets, and she went off saying that she and brother-in-law didn't have that kind of money, how they had 8 mouths to feed and clothes to buy, and she couldn't waste money on the fair. I asked why she thought I was made of money, and she said I had more money than them, and it's not like I have 6 kids to care for. I told her I loved taking the kids out, But if she couldn't help with paying for the expensive places, then the kids would have to be content with going to the park or swimming at my house. Sister said I'm a huge a-hole, and when I told our parents, they said that it was sorta a-hole-ish since I only take them out a couple of times a month instead of caring for them 24/7 like my sister. So now I don't know. Hub says I'm not the a-hole, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could swing taking them all to the fair, but it's just so expensive. Am I the a-hole for asking for help paying? Well, they're not your kids, so you shouldn't be expected to shell out that much money for them. Yeah, it sucks that she has that many mouths to feed and kids to clothe, but they're still her kids. And if they're gonna go out to the fair and she wants them to go, she should split the bill with you. The fact that she continually made it your fault here, because you have more money. Why should I have to pay when you make more money? You have more than us. Like, yeah, so what? This is still free babysitting for 6 children. That alone should be grounds for her being a little bit generous with her money when it comes to getting them food or things like tickets at the fair. I don't know, it just seems like weird behavior from this parent. Although if you really don't have money, it's not unexpected. But for this one, I'm just going to vote not the a-hole. Now in the comments, the bigger giraffe says, not the a-hole. So if she can't afford places like the fair because of having 8 mouths to feed, why does that responsibility have to fall to you? She's being entitled instead of grateful that you've done as much as you have all these years. Being child-free doesn't mean you have all this disposable income to spend on other people's kids, no matter how much you may love them. Not the a-hole. OP, you take your nieces and nephews out 2 to 3 times a month, which is far more than most aunts and uncles do, and rather than be grateful, your sister is demanding you do more. Your sister is quick to count and spend your money. I think you found a very wise solution to continue spending treasured time with your nieces and nephews without breaking the bank. You've done nothing wrong at all. It's your sister who's being an unreasonable a-hole. I grew up very close to my aunt and uncle, and some of the fondest memories with them are from when one or both of them babysat us at their house while my parents were both at work. Mum was a part-time worker, so it only happened occasionally that her and my dad's shift lined up like that. And we'd spend time with them. My brother and I would play ball hockey in the basement with my cousin, we'd play GameCube, etc. They don't need to be taken to expensive places to create a strong relationship and happy memories with you. The fact that you want to be so present in their lives is amazing. Trust me, my aunt and uncle are passed away now. But I will always have my love and memories with them, and your nieces and nephews will too, whether you paid to take them somewhere or not. Definitely not the a-hole here. Not the a-hole. If your sister doesn't have that kind of money, maybe they should stop having children. I'd have stopped at the same point as you. I wouldn't be willing to look after 4 kids, even if the tickets were paid for. She should be grateful you're essentially offering free childcare. Yeah, this. So not only is OP babysitting 6 children for free, but must also be willing to spend $100 plus as well? 6 kids at the fair may cost $70 to get in, but fair food is also expensive. Plus, I can't even imagine the stress of juggling 6 kids at the fair. Bathrooms alone would be a nightmare. And the cost of all the games they would want to play, any rides, easily several $100s within a few hours. Taking my 2 to the fair 2 years ago cost over $150. Bracelets were $23 a piece, and to park cost $10. A simple drink there was no less than $4. Each game was $5. I can only imagine how much it'd cost to take 6 kids. Even if they bought food and drinks, it'd still easily be a couple $100. And back to the post, OP puts in an edit and says, I want to thank everyone for all the amazing comments and DMs. After all the resounding not the a-hole comments, I've come to the conclusion that I'd become used to my family's treatment of me over the years. I'd always been aware that it wasn't really fair, but I put up with it to keep the peace and see my nibblings regularly. But I can't keep spending such outrageous amounts of money on kids that aren't even mine anymore, especially when I'm not even getting a half-assed thank you in return. It's not fair to me. So I called my sister and I told her I won't be taking her kids out for fun days for the foreseeable future. I told her that she's been really entitled to expect me to foot the bill to babysit her kids, and if she apologizes sincerely, then I might start taking them out again sometime in the future. But for now, I'm gonna keep my distance. She didn't take it well and called me a lot of hurtful names before hanging up on me. Not long after, Mum called me and told me I was being selfish and rude. But I snapped at her that she was being rude. Expecting me to pay upwards of hundreds of dollars a month for kids that I didn't give birth to while coddling my sister was crappy parenting. And I said how sick and tired I was of being treated like free babysitting for my sister just because I never popped out any grandkids for them. And if she and my sister thought taking all the kids out 3 times a month was no big deal, then I'll send her the bill. Which I did. I sent her pictures of the receipts from the last 3 places I took my nieces and nephews, each one being no less than $70. She hasn't called or texted me back. I'll just see what happens, but thanks everyone. And edit 2, to everyone thinking I'm cutting all contact with my nibblings, I'm not. I said I wouldn't be taking them out to fun activities, aka expensive places anymore. I still fully plan to go see them and hang out with them, but until my sister apologizes, I won't be doing the pricey weekly outings anymore. Alright guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you need a good laugh, please do check out my second channel, Markee 2, links down in the description below, or it's going to appear somewhere on the screen here at the end, little bubble with my face on it. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon and channel members. Your faces are surrounding me right now, and I love to have you guys with me, and down in the comment sections of each and every video, and just knowing that you're always there to support me. It's a humbling and lovely feeling. And rest assured, I do see you, and I do notice your support, and I thank you every day for being here and helping me along this journey. Not much else to say besides that, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do hope that you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again. Bye.